afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stanislaus State Science Week. My name is Sunpreet Kaur.
And my name is Chelsea Flores. We're part of the Science Center community team here at Stan State.
Stanislaus State is pleased to provide the community with opportunities to learn by engaging in live activities and recorded activities that will be shared this week through Zoom and Science Center Community YouTube channel.
Before we start, please note that this event is going to be recorded, and we'd like to ask you to stay muted unless you're called upon. Additionally, to keep this activity fun for everyone, please only use the chat to answer or ask questions unless otherwise noted by our presenter. Thank you.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce our activity, Paper Tower with Maya Jimenez.
Share my screen. Hello, my name is. Hi, welcome. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. Right. So to start off, before we get going on the paper towers, I just want to talk about Edith Clarke. She was the first female engineer. She was a professor of electrical engineering here in the United States. And she created the Clarke calculator. I'm sure that we've all used a calculator probably more than once. And she's helped create it. Right. So some questions to sort of think about before we get started on the paper towers is, what types of shapes do you guys see in buildings? And you guys can, we put a few examples in the chat. And the buildings can be houses, it can be whatever types of buildings you see, stores. Okay, so I'm seeing squares, rectangles, triangles, circles, squares, right? A lot of squares, a lot of rectangles. Depending on, excuse me, depending on maybe where you live, it'll be a little bit different on what you see. So here is a picture with some, right? You see a lot of different shapes. When you're thinking of buildings, technically they're 3D, but right, a cube has squares. And so then what types of shapes do you guys think provides the best support for buildings in general? Triangles, lots of triangles. So again, we see a lot of different pyramids. We see a lot of different types of shapes in houses, in schools, in buildings. And it really varies depending on what you're going for. So here are some freestanding towers and skyscrapers we have across the world. We have the Great Pyramid, right? We see the Big Triangle. And then if we move towards some of the other ones that we see, right? A lot of squares, a lot of triangles. Some of them are designed differently than others, right? But they all work just the same. They all provide great support. It just depends on the environment that they're at. Right. So for paper towers, the number of people needed, it could be individual or it could be in pairs, depending on how big you sort of make it, or depending on how complex you're planning on making it. Maybe pairs is a little bit easier. You'll need some paper, scissors, and tape. The main things that you need are paper and tape. I'll show you in a second that you don't quite need scissors if you don't have any. But you want to use your supplies to try and build the tallest paper tower. And for a bigger challenge, you could try to make it freestanding, and I'll explain a little bit more what freestanding is. The sheets of paper, I would say around 5, depending on, I guess, how quick the students work. It sort of depends, and also how they're making it. So for example, you want to think about what kind of shapes you're going to be using, what kind of supports. So in these pictures, and these are just examples, these are in no means meant to be like a blueprint for you to follow, but this person or this one on the left would use more pieces of paper than maybe this taller one would use. So I think it would definitely vary based off of the design they're using. And so I definitely recommend drawing out on a piece of paper, right? Usually when in real life scenarios, you wouldn't just jump in and start building something, you would try to draw it out. So it'd be helpful for the students to draw it out on a piece of paper. Are they going to use circles? Are they going to use triangles? Are they going to use squares? And it'll sort of help. But I think 5 or 6 would work. So if you guys want to have some time to draw out, and then you guys can share what some of your ideas just on a piece of paper. It could just be a quick little sketch as to what type of structure you're going to make. And it could be as complex or as simple as you want to. So I'll give you maybe 3 minutes, 2 minutes to sort of draw out how you guys want your paper towers to look like. And again, these are some things to consider. The shape, how are you going to shape your tower? Supports, are you going to include a base, walls, columns? And if you guys have any more questions as to the designing process, feel free to ask. And then as you guys are working on drawing out some of your designs, if you guys can put a thumbs up to show when you guys are ready, so we can move on. So while you guys are working on your design, I'm gonna go ahead and take off my background. I'm gonna just show you a few things that might help. Hopefully you can see my screen okay. So if you guys wanted to do triangles, right? So here's one way to do it. You can make these as long as a piece of paper, really. This is about half a piece of paper, but it's in the shape of a triangle. You can choose to make them like this and sort of go up this way. You could have them standing up. This one is a cylinder, which is a circle, right? You can make these smaller, you can make these thicker, depending on how much you're going to wrap it around. But if you see, I probably can't really balance it very well in my hand, but it would just sort of stand, right? And remember, when you're making these, you don't want to have to hold them up. You want to be able to just place them on your desk and have it just stand by itself. This one is a square. You can make these into rectangles and it'll just be able to stand on its own. Okay, so, and then depending on how you want to connect them, if you want to put these together like this, if you want to sort of stack them and tape them, I have one that's being stacked. It's really up to you. You just want to make sure that if this is falling over, right, it's not working, then you want to look at it and say, well, why is it doing that? Why isn't it standing up? And then maybe you want to sort of change what shapes you're using. Or maybe you're trying to make it too tall and it can't hold the weight of itself, right? So there's some things to consider when you're working with these. So would anybody like to share one of the designs somebody came up with for their paper tower?
All right. I put like a base of one paper and like triangles stacking up with paper in between triangles after like the first layer of triangles, if that makes sense. And the on the second thing of triangles, there's 2 papers on each side supporting it so that it wouldn't fall over, because I think it wouldn't be as stable without it. So that's what my design was.
It looks really nice. Yeah, definitely. Triangles are really big in structures, right? They provide a lot of support versus maybe some other types of columns, right? We see a lot of columns with circles, We see a lot of squares in buildings that are being made. The other thing, you guys are in classrooms, so it's not very big on what you guys are working on, but think about buildings that are outside in really windy spaces. Their buildings would have to sort of account for wind and other factors that are environmental outside. But you guys are in a classroom, so luckily you guys don't have any wind going through, hopefully. So now you guys can sort of work on, I see in yours, a lot of, I'm assuming those are either squares or rectangles that are being stacked. Those look really nice. That'll do really well. Okay. So now that you guys have your designs, hopefully most of you guys have your designs drawn out. You guys can start working on building them. Again, it sort of depends on how you're making them. If you do not have the happen to not have scissors, or if you guys would prefer it, you guys can fold your pieces of paper that you have, and then if you crease them enough, then you should be able to sort of split your piece of paper on your desk just by flattening it out, or you can sort of tear it. It does the same thing. This will also help if you're working with limited supplies. You're not going to have a whole bunch to be working with. You can measure out that way. Right, I could see that I have half of paper to be one triangle. The other half of paper is the other triangle. That way, all of your triangles or squares will be the same size. You could fold your piece of paper and rip it. You can use scissors to cut it, and you want to tape it all together. So hopefully you guys are having fun with paper towers. This is something that I used to do when I was in junior high. I even did similar stuff in high school as well, because it provides a lot of insight on the types of things that you have to be able to note when you're making stuff. So hopefully you're having fun with it. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, right? Maybe something that you might not think goes into it. I'm currently a math major, so I use a lot of math in building, as well as other things. So I am a math major, right? You need to be able to measure. You need to be able to sort of account for a lot of things. A lot of physics goes into building things like this. And with my mathematics degree, I hope to teach hopefully either junior high or high school. Want to become a teacher, and hopefully in my classes we'll be able to do fun activities like these, just to sort of help involve students' hands-on work. And if any of you guys have any towers that are almost complete, you can take a look if you'd like to share. But again, with what you guys are doing, you guys are using certain math, even though it's not quite noticeable, or physics. So math is very important for a lot of stuff you do. So if you're really interested in mathematics, it's something that you enjoy. It's not just teaching you to do when you're in math. You can use your math skills to apply to architect, which has a lot to do with designing, right? What you guys did at the beginning, drawing it out, or as an engineer, you would have to have a lot of math skills in order to be able to see if something's going to work or not. So it goes into a lot of designing, a lot of building. So, well, I was talking about what I want to be when I am done getting my degree. What are some of the things that you guys hope to be when you guys, I guess, grow up? It's sort of a cliche question, but what are some of the careers and things you guys want to be after school in your guys' future? And you guys can type it in the chat, or you guys can unmute. Just make sure you guys say so. You want to be a dentist in the future. That's good. It's good to have sort of an idea of maybe something you'd like to go into. There's no rush, or I guess it's okay to change your mind on what you want to be. But if you know exactly what you want to be, that works really well too. I sort of thought I was going to go into teaching. I think my sophomore year in high school is when I decided like that's what I'm going to do, and I sort of stuck with it. You have a student who wants to be a designer. It's amazing. I hope all of you guys do really well in everything you guys hope to do. Being a designer, that takes, I'm assuming it's a lot of, I guess, I don't know if it's artistic or a lot of visualizing what you're going to do. That sounds really cool. It's very hard for me to visualize things. So I hope you have I hope your student has a good time with that. Maybe one day I'll be able to wear some of their designs. Electrician. Sounds like a good. I'm using my words. It sounds like a good path to go into too. So how are your guys' towers coming along? I see a lot of working, a lot of papers. I think I see one that's getting really tall there. Does anybody have any questions as to how to improve your towers, maybe make them taller or stronger? Or if anybody wants to share how their towers are coming along? Hopefully you guys are all having fun making your paper towers. I think it's a fun activity to just sort of work on. And again, it was something that I've done it over the years, improving it as I go along. So it's really a fun activity. Hopefully you guys are having fun. And hopefully your guys' paper towers are really tall and are working really well.
Thank you, Maya, for that awesome activity. And we want to thank you all for joining us. Science Week would not be possible without you and the dedication of our students, faculty, and staff here at Stanislaus State.
And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and you can join us again in our future activities.
Thank you so much for watching. Please follow us on social media to find more about our upcoming events.